When we think of the smart hero archetype, what's the first thing that usually comes to mind? Is it the quick out-of-the-box thinking for seemingly unwinnable situations, the vast array of cool gadgets and gizmos they use to enhance their arsenal, or maybe even just the snappy comebacks?
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that off, what are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
All valid, and today we're taking a look at the best example of this smart one with Robot from Invincible versus a not-so-great example with Sister Sage from The Boys, because while both represent their series as the smartest in the universe, I find that only one actually does it well. Let's get started. Now before we really get into it, a quick disclaimer. The universes of Invincible and The Boys are wildly different in terms of scale, with Robot coming from a universe that has threats like weekly alien invasions, giant kaiju roaming the streets, and even full-scale multiversal incursions. Meanwhile, Sister Sage comes from a universe where the biggest threat is, well, Homelander, so their on-screen feats will undoubtedly be vastly unequal, but I believe the basic principle of being a smart character still applies. And what would that basic principle be, you may ask? Well, it's simply show, don't tell. For smart characters, I believe it is especially important for them to actually demonstrate how intelligent they truly are in order for it to not feel as hand-wavy in terms of storytelling elements like, for example, plot resolution. In simpler terms, it's kind of like the author is just expecting you to believe the character they wrote is as smart as the plot demands and therefore can solve any issue however they want without proper build-up. However, smart characters don't have things like magic, well, most of the time, to hand-wave away solutions to the problem, so it creates a disconnect to the audience when we're just supposed to believe they are the smartest without any on-screen evidence. Otherwise creating what's known as the how could you possibly have accounted for everything that could happen and still reach the desired outcome, trust me bro, conundrum. Anyway, looping back to show don't tell, a perfect example would be, say, Tony Stark from the MCU. By the end of his story, he casually invents time travel like it's no big deal, but I think the on-screen feat everyone remembers is obviously when he
was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps.
Jokes aside, Tony building not only an arc reactor but also a fully functioning Mark I Iron Man suit with a box of scraps cements him as a believable smart character and the best example of backing up reputation with on-screen evidence. But now, how does this apply to our selected characters? Well, let's do this show don't tell principle on Robot. How does he demonstrate he's the smartest character in the Invincible verse? Well, the short list of his accomplishments include feats like during the first Flaxan invasion, he reverse engineered the language from voice recordings, determining the Flaxans are an increased time rate, meaning they retreated because they were dying of old age. Then, in literally that same episode, he develops countermeasures for the Flaxans by analyzing their time stream wristbands and telling the teen team to destroy them. Not only that, but he proves he's a tech expert who can build devices under pressure, like against the Sequids, he jury-rigs a sonic disruptor out of his own suit in just 5 minutes, I might add, to disconnect the Sequid hive mind. And to top it all off, his wildest feat is by far somehow sciencing the shit out of Monster Girl's curse and creating a belt to counteract her de-aging problem whenever she transforms.
Yeah. Robot.
Yes, science!
So by applying the show don't tell principle, Robot absolutely proves he's the smartest person in Invincible in a satisfying and believable way. But on the other side of the coin, why does Sister Sage fail at this? Well, let's apply the same show don't tell principle. Sister Sage has on-screen feats like determining why Homelander would seek her out, such as his fears of old age and being just as mortal as the humans he looks down on. Okay, pretty good start. Then later on, realizes MM is tracking her during the convention and leads the boys into a trap and has them completely dead to rights. But for some reason decides to walk away like a James Bond villain and let the boys fight their way out instead of, you know, doing the smart thing and telling her lackeys to just open fire immediately and eliminating like half the boys team right then and there. Okay, well I'll just chalk that one up to the insane amount of plot armor the boys had this season, but what else is there? She deduces A-Train is the mole, leaking information to the boys and uses A-Train as a way to give out the information she wants to be leaked. But all the information A-Train leaked was accurate, and by not doing the smart thing like don't know, giving A-Train false information and leading the boys into a trap, say like tricking them into going into an abandoned warehouse and then just blowing it up from the outside, takes her sweet time basically doing fuck all, resulting in Homelander doing a half-assed investigation of his own, leading to the deaths of 3 potential allies, 2 of them being supers. Now am I saying Sister Sage should have outright told Homelander A-Train was the leak? No, probably not. Homelander's been shown to be highly volatile and resort to violence immediately, but by actively choosing to do basically nothing, she's not really doing herself any favors in the evil mastermind who knows everything department. Okay, so Sister Sage is questionable in terms of the smartest person in the world department, but this is the same character that when upon hearing "don't move or I'll shoot," moves, gets shot. Move! And for some reason, her master escape plan was to bet on MM shooting her in the head, in which case she'll survive, but if your plan was to have him aim for your head, why goad him at all and make his hand shake when you need him to have perfect aim? And even then, what if he just aimed for your heart, or as a matter of fact, literally hit you anywhere else on the body? Would she have just died and the season's over because Homelander's dumbass couldn't come up with a plan to put himself on top without murdering everyone and putting a target on every super's back? Because that's just way too much to risk on the off chance that MM shoots you in literally the one place you can survive, but hey, smartest person in the world, everybody. Alright, so Sister Sage is smart relative to everyone else in the boys, which honestly speaking isn't very impressive, but she does have at least one last way to prove she's the smartest, and that's the big overarching conflict of Season 4. The plan...
Yes, your illustrious fucking plan
is simple enough. Eliminate President-elect Bob Singer through either legal means with congressional approval or through unsavory means like using the shifter to personally dispose of him. Also, they can have a pro-super president to let Homelander do whatever the fuck he wants. And for some reason, I guess it all works out somehow, because while the shifter may not have been successful, Butcher still kills Victoria Newman, and the shifter just so happened to record the literal perfect line of dialogue to frame Bob Singer and have him arrested, thus leaving an even better pro-super president than Newman and giving everything Homelander could possibly want and more. But if we literally spend more than like 5 seconds thinking about the amount of holes Sister Sage's master plan has, we realize how easily derailed this whole plot to overthrow the government really is. So in honor of that, let's do like 3 minor to major scenarios that completely ruin her master plan and show how much of a miracle it is that it actually worked out. Scenario 1. Butcher gets stuck in traffic. Alright, so in order for Sister Sage to actually frame Bob Singer for the death of Victoria Newman, it requires Butcher going full scorched earth, mate, and gaining brand new powers capable of actually killing Newman. However, we know Butcher still can't fly no matter what cool new powers he gets for the season, so let's just say hypothetically Butcher gets stuck in traffic for like say 5-10 minutes, meaning Victoria Newman gets away just in time and is shipped off to the CIA protection program or whatever, meaning she now cooperates with the boys in exchange for her safety. Newman lives just long enough to expose Vought, the footage the shifter collected is now useless, and the plan is over. And speaking of the footage, scenario 2, the president-elect stays silent or says, you know, literally anything differently. In order for the footage the shifter recorded to be of any use at all, it would require Dakota Bob to literally say the exact phrase that could be used to frame him.
If you'd killed Newman like I ordered, we wouldn't be stuck 4 stories underground playing pocket pool.
So if he says literally anything else, like there's a shape-shifting assassin on my ass and it's your job to protect me, do it right, or hell, he even remains silent, the shifter's recording would be fucking useless and Bob remains president-elect. Once again, plan's over. Maybe Homelander crashes out and gets the scorched earth plan started early, but Sister Sage's master plan fails again due to requiring something as specific as her character saying the exact line she needs to frame him. And finally, scenario 3. Huey realizes Annie is the shifter. Huey already had his suspicions about Annie's recent behavior, and considering he knows about the shifter's ability to impersonate anybody, it's entirely possible that he could have realized Annie had been replaced. Especially during a major event in the story, like when Huey tries to access the dirt he has on Newman. The files are of course gone, but hey, wait a second, the only person who could possibly delete all my blackmail files would be someone who not only knows the password, but would also have direct access to my laptop. Who could that possibly be? Is it my girlfriend who suddenly seems much happier recently despite all the shit she's been going through as of late? No, couldn't possibly be her, right? Regardless, Sister Sage is betting on the shifter having a flawless infiltration, because if Huey had found out any time before they got sealed in the bunker, then the shifter's cover would have been blown, they don't get the footage they need, or they don't even get close to eliminating the target, and once again, the plan is over. There's probably even more what-ifs that I'm not even mentioning that could completely derail her plan, like what if Huey managed to talk down Butcher and save Newman, or what if Annie broke out of captivity earlier and managed to warn the boys about the shifter impersonating her, or maybe even side characters do something unexpected like A-Train leaks Homelander's plot to overthrow the government, blowing the whole thing wide open. There's just so many hypotheticals that would just lead to complete and utter failure. So in order for events to turn out the way they did in the show, either Sister Sage is a master of both human psychology and tactics, capable of thinking 10 moves ahead and putting the boys in a simply unwinnable situation for no matter what they do, they will always reach her desired outcome, or let's be honest, she just got really fucking lucky that events turned out the way they did and every character in the boys just got progressively dumber as time went on.
How is it you guys are actually getting worse at your jobs?
And looping back to our original point of show, don't tell, her master plan is supposedly all in this one notebook. Every possible outcome, every player accounted for, every single variable checked off. A foolproof plan? A plan guaranteed to overthrow the government and install me as the true supreme leader, located all within this one tiny notebook? Yes. May I see it? No. Like, just imagine if at the end of Watchmen, instead of Ozymandias unveiling his carefully orchestrated master plan and all the steps he undertook to make sure there was a 0% chance of our heroes doing anything to stop him, he instead just casually walks up to his throne, looks at Rorschach and goes, everything worked out the way it did because I planned it to. The twist wouldn't nearly be as satisfying, and the events of the story would feel like they were dictated more by random chance, or in Sister Sage's case, random bullshit. But now, you don't even have to imagine it, because that's exactly where we're at, with Sister Sage casually strolling in at the very end of the season like she somehow managed to account for every single event that just so happened to work out in her favor because she's just that smart, and totally not because the writers got lazy and didn't want to show any concrete evidence of her master plan or anything. Just trust me, bro. To wrap things up, looking back at how season 4 played out overall, I have no doubt Sister Sage is in fact the smartest person in the world, but that's only by virtue of everybody else around her being really fucking stupid. I also wouldn't have an issue with the usual everything went according to plan finale if the writers had actually shown how Sister Sage accounted for how chaotic everyone would act over the course of the season, or even had her acknowledge how close the entire plan was to failing. And to her credit, she does in fact acknowledge needing to keep Homelander in the dark on the very high chance he fucks everything up, which he totally did, but it just comes off as a lazy afterthought if you consider the fact that it's literally the last 10 minutes of the season and we'll only see the results of her master plan.
Yes, your illustrious fucking plan.
On the next wacky set of adventures Homelander and the boys go on. Now, am I excited to see how Sister Sage schemes in the next season and inevitably betrays Homelander just to see if she could, only for it to blow up in her face because her plans really only work through insane amounts of luck and the writers forcing it to? Oh, abso-fucking-lutely.